Hey everyone, welcome to Skein Spider. Today's pattern is going to be a little hatching chicken. So grab your hooks and let's get started. To make this pattern, you're going to need both a 3mm and a 3.5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, a needle, pins, stuffing, a pair of 12mm safety eyes, and 8-ply yarn in a colour or colours of your choice. We're going to start off with the top of the eggshell, so grab whatever colour you're going to use for that, as well as your 3.5mm hook. And then we're just going to start off with round 1, and that is 6 single crochet in a magic circle. Round 2 is 6 increases, that's just 2 single crochet in each stitch. Round 3, we're going to begin with 3 single crochet. And then we're going to put an increase in the 4th stitch. 1 and 2. And then we're just going to repeat that pattern of 3 single crochet, 1 increase, twice more, or 3 times in total. Round 4 is 4 single crochet and an increase repeated 3 times. Round 5 is 5 single crochet and an increase repeated 3 times. Round 6 is 6 single crochet and an increase repeated 3 times. Round 7 is 7 single crochet and an increase repeated 3 times. Round 8 is 8 single crochet and an increase repeated 3 times. Round 9 is 9 single crochet and an increase repeated 3 times. For round 10, our final round, we're going to do 2 slip stitches, and then in the 3rd stitch we're going to do a picot stitch and just repeat that pattern the entire way around. So begin round 10 with a slip stitch, so you're going to go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, and you should have 2 loops on your hook, and then you're just going to pull straight through that 2nd loop. So that is stitch number 1 of round 10. And then we're just going to do another slip stitch in the 2nd stitch. Into the 3rd stitch, we're first going to single crochet, and this is going to begin our picot stitch. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. The next step is to work into the back bump of the first chain. Now, if you look at your stitches, and you can see they're made up of little V's, so we've got our 3rd V here, our 2nd V and our 3rd V of each chain. The back bump is actually behind those V's. So if you just turn your work over, you will see a little bump of yarn behind the stitch. That's where we want to work into. So we're going to do a single crochet into this back bump of the first chain. So go into the back bump, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through again. And then to finish the picot stitch, we're just going to single crochet in the base of that 3rd stitch, the stitch we worked into to begin the picot stitch. And then we're just going to repeat that same pattern we've been doing. So slip stitch for the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and then picot stitch. So single crochet first, chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, work into the back bump of the first chain, and then single crochet, and then just single crochet into the base to finish. So you're just going to continue that pattern all the way until the end of the round. We're just going to slip stitch back into that first slip stitch we did to finish off, and then leave a tail for sewing. Next we're going to do the bottom part of the eggshell, so we're going to do that in the same colour, and once again we're using a 3.5mm hook, and we're also beginning with 6 single crochet in a magic circle. Round 2 is 6 increases. Round 3 is 1 single crochet, 1 increase repeated 6 times. Round 4 begins with 1 single crochet followed by an increase, and then we're going to repeat 2 single crochet, 1 increase 5 times. This will leave you with 1 stitch left in your round, and you're just going to single crochet into that at the end. Round 5 is 3 single crochet and an increase repeated 6 times. Round 6 is 9 single crochet, 1 increase repeated 3 times. At the end of round 6, you should have 33 stitches in your round, and then rounds 7, 8 and 9 are just going to be 33 single crochet. For round 10, we're also going to do 33 single crochet, except this time we're working entirely into the front loops. When you've finished round 10, make sure that you can see the ring of the exposed back loops, because we'll need them to work into later. So if you can't see those, if you've worked through both loops instead of just the front loop, you're going to have to frog round 10 and then redo it again in the front loops only. But if you do have that ring, we can go on to round 11, which is just 33 single crochet. Round 12, we're going to do a similar pattern to what we did for the last round of the top shell. This time we're starting with the picot stitch, so single crochet, chain 3, and then work into the back bump of the first chain, single crochet into that, and then single crochet into the base of that same first stitch. Then we're going to do 2 slip stitches, 2, and then we're just going to repeat the pattern of picot stitch, 2 slip stitches all the way around. We're just going to slip stitch to finish off. Now with this bottom eggshell, if you want to be able to sew the jagged edges to the little chick inside, you're going to need to leave a long tail for sewing. But if you don't plan to do that, which I don't, you just need to snip off a little tail just long enough so that you can weave the end in to hide it. Next up, we're going to make the little chick that goes inside the egg, so I'm going to be using my gold yarn. And we begin as usual with 6 single crochet in a magic circle. And again, we're using our 3.5mm hook. Round 2 is 6 increases. Round 3 is 1 single crochet, 1 increase repeated 6 times. Round 4 is 1 single crochet followed by an increase, and then 2 single crochet, 1 increase repeated 5 times, and then finish off the round with just 1 single crochet. So my phone stopped recording because I forgot to take off my old video files from my previous tutorial before I started recording this one. So all you missed was rounds 5 through to 8, which are just 24 single crochet each. At the end of round 8, you're going to secure your end and then insert the 12mm safety eyes. Insert them between round 6 and 7. Start at round 1 and count out to find your spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You're going to place the first eye in. Count out 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then in the 4th stitch place the second eye. If you're happy with how they look, go ahead and put the backs on, and then we're going to continue with round 9, which is 2 single crochet, 1 decrease repeated 6 times. Now I've already done the first stitch, and then we're going to do a second single crochet, and then we're going to do our invisible decrease. To do that, you're going to go under the front loops of each of the next 2 stitches, yarn over and pull through. This will leave you with 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both of those loops. And that's how you do an invisible decrease. You're going to repeat that pattern of 2 single crochet, 1 decrease 5 more times, or 6 times in total. Round 10 begins with 1 single crochet and then an increase, and then we're going to repeat 2 single crochet, 1 increase 5 times, and then just finish off the round with 1 single crochet. Round 11 is 3 single crochet and an increase repeated 6 times. Round 12 is 9 single crochet and an increase repeated 3 times. And then rounds 13 through to 15 are just going to be 33 single crochet. Round 15 is our last round, so when you've finished it, just slip stitch, and you're going to want to leave a fairly long tail for sewing. And then we can go on to the beak. For both the beak and the feet, we're going to swap to our 3mm hook, so they're just going to be crocheted a little bit smaller. We're going to start off with the beak, and we're going to begin, this time a little bit differently. We're going to put 4 single crochet in a magic circle. And our second and final round for the beak is just going to be 1 single crochet, 1 increase repeated twice to bring us up to 6 stitches. And then we're just going to cut a small tail for sewing, and that's all we need to do for the beak. For the feet, we're also using our 3mm hook. And this time we're going to start with a slip knot and a chain. With a slip knot, you want to leave a fairly long tail at the start because we're going to be using this tail to sew on the feet later on. So I'm going to leave that fairly long, make my slip knot, and then chain 2. In the first chain we made, so the second one from the hook, we're going to do 1 increase. For row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we're going to do 2 increases. For row 3, we're again going to begin with a chain and turning our work, and this time we're going to do 1 increase and then 3 single crochet. For row 4, chain and turn, and we're actually going to begin row 4 with a picot stitch like we did for the edges of the shells. So go into the first stitch, single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, work into the back bump of the first chain, and single crochet, and then we're just going to single crochet back into that first stitch that we went into. In the next stitch, the second stitch, we're going to do 1 slip stitch, another picot stitch in the third stitch, in the fourth stitch we're going to do another slip stitch, and the fifth and final stitch is also going to be a picot stitch. And again, just single crochet back into the 5th stitch to finish. And then you're going to cut a tail. This tail just needs to be long enough that you can weave in the end. And that's all we need to do for the feet. You're going to make a second one of those, and then we can begin assembling our little hatching chick. Alrighty, for the first step we're going to need our little chick piece and the bottom egg piece. First we're going to add a little bit of stuffing to the chick. It's more important at this point to make sure the head is stuffed properly, because the body we can always add some more stuffing to later. And thread it through your needle. And then what we're going to do is sew the stitches of the chick to the exposed back loop from round, where are we, round 10, yes, round 10. So there's 33 stitches in our final round of the chick and 33 back loops from round 10, and we're just going to sew 1 to 1. Okay, so sew into the back loop, sew back into the stitches from the chick, and then we're going to go into the next stitch, or the next back loop, sorry, of the egg, and just pull firmly on the yarn. And then just continue into the next stitch in the chick, into the next stitch in the back loop. And you're going to sew that on for about 3/4 of the way, and then we're going to stop and add some more stuffing. Alright, I've sewn on about 3/4, and now I'm just going to add the stuffing to the body of the chick and to the bottom of the egg. And when you've added all your stuffing, we're just going to finish off sewing. And then just weave in your end to secure it. If you didn't weave in the tail end of the bottom egg, if you want to sew these jagged pieces on, go ahead and do that now, but I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to leave them as they are. And when you've finished sewing, or if you're not sewing at all, we're then going to add the top piece. Once again, just thread your needle with the tail end. And then to sew this on, all I'm going to do is sit it on top of the head in the position I want it in. So for me that's angled backwards a little bit, but you can have it right on the top, wherever you want. And then all I'm going to do is put a couple of stitches in the bottom here. And then after I've worked into the body, I'm going to sew back up through the backs of the stitches here. Now that I've put 3 stitches in the back here, I'm then going to work my needle up the body to the top. And then I'm just going to put another couple of stitches in at the front here to secure the egg. If you want to, you can sew the entire thing on, but I just don't think that's really necessary to keep it in place. Alright, when you're finished, just weave in this end too. Next up, we're going to put on the beak, and we're just going to center that between the eyes. The last thing we need to attach is the feet, but before we can do that, we're just going to weave in this end that is from the last picot stitch we did. Alright, and then we're going to place the feet. Now I'm going to place my feet on the front here, like so. But if you want, you can also place them on the bottom of the egg. Like this. So choose which position you want them to be sewn on in. And then we're going to sew those on. But I'm only going to be sewing on the bottom, so I'm going to sew up the side here until I reach the bottom of the picot stitch. Then I'm going to push my needle across the body and then sew down the other side. Again, you can sew on the entire foot if you want to, but I don't think that's really necessary to keep them on. And with that, your little hatching chick is all finished.